Hello everybody, we have another rapid game with the white pieces against GC307, rated 829. We're going to open up with the bishop's opening and see how he responds. He plays e5. Let's see what else he does. Okay, so he develops a minor piece towards the center. We're going to do the same thing. It's a good idea. Developing a minor piece, controlling the center. And now let's see what he does. Okay, now he brings out his king's knight, also controlling the center. Another reasonable move. We're just going to play d3, which controls the center and develops our piece. Black plays d6, controls the center and develops this piece. Similar positions. Now we're going to break the symmetry. Instead of developing normal, which is a fine move, we're going to play f4, a little more aggressive, putting the pawn in front of the knight, a little more risky. Black develops his bishop here, trying to get in with some tempo, trying to find a good square for it, hitting the queen. You know, it's a fine move, nothing wrong with it. We could block with the knight. If we block with the knight and he jumps in his knight, adding pressure. We could castle, we could do other stuff. I don't see the problem. Maybe he'll take it. So he adds pressure. I mean, it's already defended twice. So if I take this, I get a pawn, he gets a piece. I get another pawn, but then he gets that piece too. Okay, so he does jump in. It's, you know, one of the more reasonable moves in the position. We could castle, and if he takes one way or the other, we take with the pawn. Let's just go for that. It may look like our king is weak or something, but we'll have an open g file. We'll go king h1, rook g1, and we can just play on the g file too. Especially if he gives up his bishop. Okay, so he develops his queen, prepares to castle the other way. That's fine, it's reasonable. It is reasonable. You could do something maybe like f5, you know, shutting down coordination, gaining some space for your pieces. You could also leave the tension, we could do that. We could also ask him what he's gonna do. We could also move our queen, but then he can take here, so you gotta be careful. We could also just develop, that's reasonable. What do I want to do? Do I want to push? I can't tell. I really don't know. I mean, you could do whatever you want. You could also go here, just preempting his queenside castling. That's an idea, which I like as well. Maybe I'll just go with that, pass the turn. It's also just a good move, especially if he castles this way, because you're developing your rook, which isn't going to be developed any other way. Keep the tension. If he takes and you take and he goes here, I mean, we could preemptively lift that rook as well. That's actually pretty decent. So here, then this doesn't do anything. We could also just develop. We could also cut it on. I don't know. They're all good. Let's just go here. Let's just go a4. Because I can't choose, I'm just going to go a4. And he castles into it. Wow. Okay. I mean, we expected that though. We could just gain more space. It's nice to have all that room already created. Kind of would have to go like this. That, that pawn got pretty far though. I get a pawn, he gets a pawn. I get a pawn, he gets a queen. I get a queen, he gets a pawn. Yeah, that's not good. But I can go here, and I do want to move this knight to kick this knight. And if he takes with the knight, that opens up my rook, which is bad for him. And this comes with a threat, namely also the knight as well as the pawn. And it gets out of the way. So I like this move a lot. It attacks the center, it attacks the king, and it prepares to attack the center further because, yeah, the knight was controlling this, but we already have control of that with two pieces, and you don't even need the pieces. Once the pawn controls it, I mean, that's really nice already. I guess he does have this now as a response, but then check here. How does this go? Maybe you don't take that. So here, if you take this pawn, that's complicated. So if he goes here, you could take the knight. If he takes the bishop, he does go there. Interesting. Very interesting. Okay, we could just take the pawn. Solve some of the problems, and then if he takes back with the knight, at best he just took back the pawn, who cares? All the other lines seem problematic, and everything is still being threatened. So he didn't really solve anything with that, even though it looks like the right move. I feel like maybe his position's a little unstable, considering I still have better control of the center, right? Like look at these three pawns that I have in the center, touching the center. He just has this one pawn. It's not going to be easy for him. He also needs to spend a move king b1 at some point, or king b8. This is really hanging, and you really don't want my pawn to hang out there on e5 if you're black. This thing, I know a lot of you would be annoyed by this, but at the end of the day, what has it really done? Nothing. So he develops a piece, connects the rooks, and eyes this. It doesn't coordinate with anything. It doesn't address this threat, which then hangs this knight. It doesn't address this threat. It also walks into c2. So there's like 1,000 things happening. I mean c3. c3 looks natural, but then he can take this with check. Then you can take this with a tempo hit. He'll go here, but then you could pick up this piece. He'll get the rook, but 2 pieces for a rook is pretty solid. Also, you're covering the h3 square from his queen. So there's that option. Check here, check, takes. That doesn't do anything. Here. There's no cool checkmate, right? Yeah, you get a pawn, he gets a queen. You get a queen. Even if he takes this, he could take your knight. Alright, so I I forgot what I said. And if I just take this pawn, his knight is, well, he could still take this. So let's go for the forcing, something forcing. Since I'm running out of time, I only have 3 minutes. I'm calculating. There's so many winning moves and I'm just taking way too long to look at them. Because they all look so nice. But I say let's attack the center with the fourth pawn. Right, these 4 pawns are attacking or occupying these squares. So he moves back and just hangs the piece. He doesn't go for this. So we're going to take a free piece. This does give us a check, no big deal. We could take it. We can move our king. But these dark squares are tender. So we might as well just take it. We don't need to go for the king and win a pawn when we're up a piece. We get rid of his best piece on the board that's centralized, supported by a pawn. Yeah, we lose, this or whatever, but we're up a clean bishop. This pawn is weak. We have this construction, which is kind of fun. And now this pin, we can move our queen because our rook defends nicely. Where do we want to move our queen? Well, maybe we can eye the king. We could still push this pawn up as far as we can go. That's something. We can push this pawn. We could push this pawn in fianchetto and try to get it in the center. That would be a super strong point. But he's probably going to take this next. So to discourage that, let's go here. It unbreaks the pin. It develops a piece. And it forces, like if he wants to win a pawn, he has to trade the knight and the queen. So he gets a pawn out of it, which is nice, but he liquidates a lot of stuff. Maybe maybe that's good for him because my pawn structure is not great here, but who knows. I'll be up a piece, a bishop at that, a dark squared bishop that he doesn't have. If he ever does this trade, I'll have 2 bishops, so I'll have none. The light squares are being kind of protected a lot. This is now a move that my queen has gotten out of the pin, and he walks into it. So this looks like it hits this, but the real threat of my queen move, the purpose was to defend, but the threat that it comes with is this move. What's the big deal? Well, again, you lose the bishop pair. This doesn't do anything. The pawn is protected. So we're just going to jump in, attack the queen, attack the bishop, attack the pawn, and maybe it cool sacks. Like here, pawn takes, let's say his queen moves, right? His pawn takes, our pawn takes, we're threatening mate in 1. And if he doesn't take, we can check, and then go check. I don't know, maybe we have something cool. So he goes here. That hangs the bishop. Also, maybe this is one of those times we can go here, and if he takes, because we're forking him, and we take, he may not be able to stop this, but maybe rook over, here, bishop back. Maybe that stops it. So let's just take, we don't need to be fancy, we'll just take another free piece, free stuff. As you get better and better, you can try to get fancier and fancier just to like improve your calculation, your accuracy. To spawn new ideas. And we have a minute and a half, which is not a lot of time, but our position is really, really, really nice. And this is still a great square for the knight. He could kick it. Okay, he takes a pawn, but now he's just blundering everything. We take more free pieces, and then we bring our rook over to the 2 open files. And then we're basically just dominating through the center. He brings his queen here, which attacks the knight, and x-rays the bishop. We're going to move the knight back in the center. The bishop is protected. It can also drop back here. So now he attacks the knight. I'm, without calculating, just gonna put this on a defended square and attack the queen. He completely ignores me, so I'm just gonna take the queen. Obviously this game's over. We'll bring in the other rook so that he can't avoid a trade really. And eventually some mate will come. I mean, it's a weird construction. They're not targeting these, so I'm just using the open files in the center. There's no point anymore in pushing this pawn. The end of the game is here. He attacks this, but doesn't do anything except put our bishop back on a protected square, and then when we go here, it's not coordinating. So this is a terrible move that improves my position but worsens his. So we're just going to put the rook here and coordinate. He can take, so you have to watch out. You don't want to tie down your pieces and then blunder. So we're just going to double the rooks. No big deal. We also have a queen. Maybe we could do some fun stuff. I want to sack my bishop and maybe checkmate him somehow. So I'm thinking if I go here, this looks trollish because it is. I'm threatening checkmate in 1. But if he takes me, I'm threatening checkmate in 1. Can you find the checkmate? There we go. So that was a really cool move right there. Bishop here. Now you could say, oh, well, he doesn't have to take. Well, if he doesn't take, then I'm going to checkmate him. Oh, well, he can push. Well, it's pinned, so he can't push. So what are you going to do? It's a really good move. If we look at it from the beginning, development and center, development and center, development and center, center and development, center and future development, development and center and force move, king safety and development. And now here the center's locked, right? So if I say center, it's all like the center's controlled. We still want to play around it, like for example, if this pin's not here, we'd still always look at center first. We would take the pawn, he would take, and then we would take this free pawn, hit the queen, hit the bishop. Can't do that now because it's pinned, but I would look center first. I don't see anything center that matters, like I can't do that, right? Because the knight's pinned. I could jump this in, but that's not an advantage because if he trades and I take, that's just a trade, and you don't want that for no reason. So when you look at it like the center, you end up doing other stuff because we have center, and then we look at development. Okay, I could put this bishop here, but it's kind of superficial because this doesn't really matter. It's not relevant. If he ever takes, you're going to develop it in one go. If you ever push, you're going to develop it probably out here. So you don't need to like put it here or here. It kind of doesn't do anything. This rook is going to stay here to guard here, right? So he wants to castle queenside, and opposite side castling games. The most important thing is how fast you can be. It's no longer like the center's still important, but if it's open and you can just send rooks down there and play, that's fine. But here the center's kind of just locked, a little bit of tension, and so in that kind of opposite side castling, you're going to attack the king as fast as you can. Of course, if the center blows up all of a sudden, you have to address it, and maybe you'll go back to utilizing mainly the center. But if it's not completely blown up, and this is not completely blown up, and it's opposite side, which he's clearly indicating, you want to get there first. He didn't start his attack, right? And now once I saw this queen move, I also decided in my head that I didn't want to push because it's going to be opposite side castling, and that would give him this hook, g6, so that when he takes, he opens up his rook, right? So I said, okay, I no longer want to make moves on this part. I want to start on this side. I can just keep going. I could throw the pawn away and just open up my rook. Pawns don't matter in opposite side castling. Um, Checkmate matters. So he castles, and now we use our pieces and development in the center to attack again a slightly weak king. So he has this piece in the center. We go here because it comes with threats, and it prepares to kick that piece, which would in turn resolve this tension favorably for us one way or the other. If he runs away, we can move our queen. If he takes the knight, then we get a nice strong pawn on f3, an open g file, and he's not really going to be doing anything, especially since he can't hop stuff into that square because of the pawn. Um, so if you're looking for other moves, like what ideas do you have? Your opposite side castle. If you can't win material, you're supposed to attack the king. So if you made a move like a5, cool. If you made a move like b4, cool. So I made a different move with a piece on that side of the board, also cool, because it comes with threats, clear ideas. And then we take the pawn because he's attacking our bishop, forcing move. And then this move is super suspect. Walks into the fork, free piece, a trade. Now that we're up a piece, liquidation. And then we develop, and it hits the center. So now we're back to development and center since the forcing moves are gone. And since we're up a piece, if you look at the way the pieces are moving, you can see that there's a little pressure on the king, but now there's not really, you don't just want to go for the throat, right? It's not like if this b pawn was gone and you could put a rook on the b file behind the queen, you can immediately just start pushing this pawn, playing with the bishop, and going for the throat. But as is, you have to take it a little slower, because you have your pawns in the way. They're not immediately threatening stuff. So anyway, he goes to the side. This allows me to jump in the center, centralize a piece with threats. Then he just hangs more stuff. He hangs more stuff. This is a forcing move because he's attacking us. And the rest is just simple. Once we did, if you look at my games as I do this, maybe the first, I want to say 8 moves on average are all center development, right? King safety. And then if the opponent either plays terribly, like super bad moves, or his king is weak, we transition. Okay, so that's what we do here because opposite side castling. And those are the best games, the opposite side. They're so fun. You just pawn storm or piece storm, and it's I don't know, it's a race. It's fun. But I want to see what the engine when I played a4. I mean, I mentioned 4 or 5 moves that I liked. Was in which position was it? It was okay, I castled. Yeah, he goes here, and now I'm thinking. I was talking to you guys, thinking, okay, what can we do? We can develop our bishop. We can push a4, which actually they like is the best move. But it makes a lot of sense because he's going to opposite side castle. You could take it even though you're not winning the pawn, but that opens the bishop. It does open your bishop, but considering he's queenside castling, I don't see the need to get rid of his d pawn. I want to leave it there. I suppose he can never push d5, but I don't know, hardly necessary. What do they think of f5? I mean, it's whatever, they don't hate it. Did they not recommend something like g6? Bishop g5. Bishop e7, takes, knight d5. Oh, that's true. It does weaken the dark squares a lot, but yeah, a4 makes the most sense. Everything else kind of just asks for trouble. Even if it works move by move, you need to logically think it through. And this move just makes the most sense. And after he castles, Yeah, as I suspected, you can just push this up the board. That's generally the right thing. Get it as far as, oops, as far as he'll let you. Oops, what am I doing? But I didn't do that. Oh man, I'm terrible. Okay, so you can develop your bishop. King h1, which is blah, blah. a5, f takes c. Yeah, you see a5, b4, and the knight one. I like those. I don't like their other options. I figured if I go here, he was going to take, and I was going to take, and he was going to go here, and I was going to go here. This is what I figured. At the end of it, he goes d5. I mean, I didn't calculate after that, but... So ideally, since he has this, if we just push, and he takes this anyway and goes down that line, and we didn't move our knight, which means that the d5 is not a thing. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, so the drawback of this move is it releases control over the center, so you have to make sure your opponent can't take advantage of it. Still fine, but good to like know the possibilities exist. Alright guys, hopefully you enjoyed this game. Send me yours for review. Good luck in your chess.